Let me ask you something. When was the last time you were truly silent, not just quiet on the outside, but still on the inside? We live in a world where everyone is shouting for attention, validation, approval. But here's the truth. The louder the world gets, the more valuable your silence becomes, because silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. Focus isn't isolation, it's power. If you can learn to focus on yourself and stay silent, not out of fear, but out of discipline, you will become unstoppable. And by the time people realize what you were doing in private, it'll be too late for them to catch up. That's why you need to listen to this till the very end, because the real growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in silence. When you stop telling everyone what you're working on, two things happen. You protect your vision from doubt, and you protect your energy from noise. People can't destroy what they don't know. Silence is your invisible armor. You can't grow when your attention is scattered across opinions, likes, and validation. Every time you explain your next move to someone, you give away a piece of your power. Focus on you. Build in the dark, because consistency in silence creates confidence in public. Talkers announce, doors deliver. While others are trying to convince the world they're winning, you're actually preparing to win. Success doesn't need an introduction. It arrives and speaks for itself. When you stay silent, people might think you're cold, distant, or strange. Let them. They're not supposed to understand your process. They're supposed to witness your progress. Your silence is not for them. It's for your evolution. Every conversation costs energy. Every argument steals focus. Every explanation drains purpose. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. There's a kind of peace that comes when you stop explaining yourself to people who never really cared to understand you in the first place. In a world that glorifies oversharing and constant connection, silence has become a rare form of strength. It's not that you don't have things to say. It's that you finally understand that not everyone deserves to hear them. Every word you speak carries energy. Every conversation, every confession. Every time you open your heart, you make an energetic exchange. And if you're not careful, you'll start handing out pieces of your power to people who don't know how to handle it. People who feed on your uncertainty or quietly doubt your dreams. Protecting your energy begins with understanding why you must focus on yourself, that your peace is sacred and not everyone earns the right to access it. You've probably felt it before. That drained feeling after talking to someone who leaves you empty. Someone who pulls you into gossip, negativity, or unnecessary drama. That's not just coincidence. That's energy transfer. When you share too much, you give away emotional space that was meant for your growth. You lose focus. You lose momentum, and slowly you start carrying the weight of other people's doubts as if they were your own. There's power in learning to hold things close, not out of secrecy, but out of wisdom. Silence isn't hiding, it's filtering. It's choosing what deserves to be seen and what deserves to be protected. When you speak less, you listen more. You observe more. You begin to understand who's genuine and who's curious only to criticize. Most people don't realize that their energy leaks through constant explanation. When you feel the need to justify your plans, your goals, your next move, you give away your spiritual leverage. You make your progress a public discussion instead of a private discipline. And in that process, your vision becomes diluted. The noise of others starts shaping what was meant to come from within you. Your silence is not empty, it's full of purpose. It's where your energy recharges, your ideas mature, and your clarity deepens. The most powerful people are rarely the loudest in the room. They are the ones who have mastered restraint. They know that not every question deserves an answer, not every provocation deserves a reaction, and not every listener deserves the truth. When you learn to protect your energy, you stop seeking validation from others. You stop needing applause. You start realizing that the only approval that truly matters is your own. Silence gives you space to connect with yourself, your thoughts, your values, your intuition. It reminds you that your worth doesn't come from how many people understand you, but from how deeply you understand yourself. It's not about cutting everyone off or walking through life alone. It's about being selective. You can still love people and keep your boundaries. You can still be kind without being accessible to everyone. You can still support others without draining yourself. Protecting your energy is about knowing when to engage and when to detach, when to speak and when to stay silent. Some of the most significant growth happens when you're quiet because silence allows you to hear what chaos tries to drown out. Your inner voice. That inner voice is your compass. It tells you when something doesn't feel right, when a conversation is pulling you down, when a person is disturbing your peace. But you can't hear it if your life is filled with noise. When you make silence your ally, you start noticing patterns. You recognize who uplifts you and who only shows up when they need something. You learn to read energy instead of words. And when that happens, you move differently, not out of arrogance, but out of awareness. You start to see that your energy is your currency, your creative fuel, your spiritual battery. You begin to spend it wisely. There will always be people who mistake your silence for weakness or indifference. Let them. They don't understand that silence is in the absence of power. It's the containment of it. The ones who building in private truly know you will understand your calmness as strength. The ones who don't never mattered anyway. Protecting your energy doesn't mean isolating yourself. It means mastering yourself. It means being intentional about who you let into your world and how much of yourself you give away. The moment you realize your peace is worth more than someone's opinion, you take back control. So stay silent when you need to recharge. Guard your thoughts like treasures. Share your dreams only with those who water them, not those who question them. Because your silence is not a void. It's a fortress. And inside that fortress, your energy grows stronger. Your purpose becomes clearer and your power becomes undeniable. That is the essence of focusing on yourself. Protecting the energy that builds you, not the noise that breaks you. Focus is your superpower. You can't grow when your attention is scattered across opinions, likes, and validation. Every time you explain your next move to someone, you give away a piece of your power. Focus on you. Build in the dark, because consistency and silence creates confidence in public. Focus is one of the rarest and most powerful skills in the modern world. In an age where distractions are designed to steal your attention every second, the ability to stay centered on your own path has become a superpower. Everyone wants to achieve more, but few are willing to give their full attention to the process. We live in an era where people are addicted to being seen rather than being effective. But focus doesn't chase attention, it chases mastery, and mastery is what separates the average from the extraordinary. When your attention is divided between validation, opinions, and constant comparison, you can't grow. Every scroll through social media, every moment spent worrying about what others are doing chips away at your creative energy. You might think you're being productive because you're moving, but movement without direction is just noise. Real growth requires focus. A commitment to staying rooted in your own lane, no matter what distractions try to pull you away. Focus is not just about what you pay attention to, it's about what you choose to ignore. You can't be everything to everyone and still be true to yourself. You can't listen to every voice around you and still hear your own. The moment you start explaining your next move to others, you open the door for their fears, doubts, and opinions to walk in. And those opinions can quietly rearrange the structure of your belief. You start second adjusting, hesitating, and before you know it, your vision no longer belongs to you. That's why the most successful people often seem detached. They're not ignoring the world. They're simply tuned into their mission. They understand that focus is a form of respect. Respect for their goals, respect for their time, and respect for their potential. When you give yourself permission to focus, you're saying, my dreams matter enough for me to protect them from distraction. Building in silence is not about secrecy. It's about strength. It's about recognizing that not everything you do needs an audience. Growth is fragile in its early stages. Just like a seed needs darkness before it breaks through the soil, your plans need quiet before they can flourish. And stop explaining your vision public. When you focus on the process instead of the praise, you train your mind to fall in love with effort, not applause. That's where true confidence is born, in the moments no one sees, when it's just you, your work, and your vision. Consistency is the child of focus. The more you commit to one direction, the stronger your results become. But consistency can't survive in chaos. You can't be consistent when your attention is pulled toward comparison, approval, or fear of judgment. Every time you let those distractions win, you weaken your ability to stay the course. The secret is to narrow your world until it revolves around what truly matters. Think about how many dreams die because people are more focused on being seen as successful than actually becoming successful. They spend so much time crafting an image of progress that they forget to make progress itself. But when you focus deeply, when you give your energy to creation instead of presentation, your results will eventually speak so loudly that you won't need to explain anything. Focus is also an act of faith. It's believing that even though the results aren't visible right now, the effort is working behind the scenes. It's trusting the process enough to keep going even when no one claps for you. When you focus on your lane, you eliminate the need for external validation. You start realizing that your value doesn't depend on who notices you, but on how committed you are to your own mission. The truth is, most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they're distracted. They scatter their time across too many tasks, too many opinions, too many fears. They let life pull them in 100 directions and then wonder why nothing changes. Focus demands sacrifice. It means saying no to what's easy so you can say yes to what's meaningful. It means turning down noise, walking away from validation, and trusting the silence of your own work. When you stay focused, you start to feel something powerful. Momentum. Every small action compounds. Every disciplined day builds confidence, and every bit of progress fuels your belief that you're on the right path. Soon, what once felt impossible starts to feel inevitable. And when you finally step into the light, people will wonder how you did it. They'll think it happened overnight, but you'll know the truth. It happened in silence, through focus, through discipline, through 1,000 small steps no one ever saw. That's why focus is your superpower, because when you control your attention, you control your outcome. When you stop explaining your plans and start executing them, the world shifts in your favor. Focus is not loud, it's not glamorous, but it is unstoppable. And if you master it, you'll never need to chase success again. It will find you. Focus is your greatest superpower in a world where everyone is trying to pull your attention in 100 directions. Every beep, every scroll, every opinion, every conversation is fighting for your energy. But here's the truth. You can't grow when your attention is scattered across opinions, likes, and validation. You can't build anything strong when your energy is divided between what others think and what you truly want. Focus is not just concentration. It's the discipline of saying no to everything that doesn't move you closer to your purpose. Every time you explain your next move to someone, you give away a piece of your power. You hand them the ability to influence your belief, to plant a seed of doubt, to slow you down. Focus demands privacy, not because you're hiding, but because growth needs protection. A seed doesn't grow in the open. It grows beneath the surface in silence. The same goes for your goals. When you're focused, you don't waste time convincing people why you're doing what you're doing. You just do it. You trust your vision, let your results speak enough to let your work speak when it's ready. The truth is, people will always have opinions. Some will cheer for you, others will criticize, and many will simply watch to see if you fail. If you let that noise shape your direction, you'll spend your whole life trying to meet expectations that were never meant for you. Focus means taking your power back, choosing to prioritize what truly matters and blocking out everything that doesn't. You stop chasing validation and start chasing excellence. You stop reacting to distractions and start building momentum. When you focus on yourself, you begin to notice how much time you used to waste. You realize how many hours you spent explaining your dreams to people who couldn't even imagine them. How often you stopped your own progress just to prove something to someone else. But focus teaches you that you don't need to prove. You just need to produce. Your results will speak for themselves. The loudest person in the room is usually the most insecure. The one who is calm and quiet is often the one doing the real work. Building in silence is an art. It's about turning your attention inward, about trusting the process even when no one sees the progress. The world celebrates results, but it forgets the discipline behind them. Every champion, every successful person, every creator had to go through seasons of unseen effort, long nights, quiet mornings, private struggles. That's where strength is built. Focus keeps you steady through those seasons. It gives you the patience to keep going even when there's no applause. But focus doesn't come naturally. It has to be trained. It starts with your mindset. You have to decide that your goals are worth more than your distractions. You have to make peace with missing out on what everyone else is doing. The more you focus, the less you care about comparison. You stop looking left and right because you're too busy moving forward. You begin to realize that your timeline is your own. It doesn't have to match anyone else's. That's when peace begins to replace pressure. Distractions will always be there. People, opinions, opportunities that sound exciting but lead nowhere. Focus gives you clarity. It helps you recognize what's truly worth your time and what's just noise dressed as progress. When you're focused, you start measuring success differently. You stop asking, how fast can I get there? And start asking, how well can I grow through this? You begin to care more about depth and speed, more about substance than attention. The real beauty of focus is that it makes you powerful without needing to be loud. When you commit fully to your path, your actions begin to carry a quiet confidence. You no longer need to announce your goals because your consistency becomes the announcement. You no longer need to argue with doubters because your progress becomes the answer. Focus turns effort into evidence, and evidence silences everything else. It's not easy to stay focused in a world built to distract you, but that's what makes it powerful. Everyone can start something. Very few can stay with it long enough to finish. Focus separates those who dream from those who achieve. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. It's about showing up day after day, even when motivation fades, even when no one's watching, even when doubt whispers that it's not working. Focus on you. Build quietly. Protect your attention like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. Every distraction you avoid, every unnecessary conversation you walk away from, every time you choose discipline over validation, you're strengthening your superpower. And one day, when the results finally show, people will call you lucky. They won't understand that your luck was built from focus, from long hours, silent effort, and an unshakable belief that you didn't need to tell the world your plans. You just needed to execute emotional control and patience them. That's the essence of focus. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters and letting everything else fall away. Focus is quiet. It's patient. It's powerful. And when you master it, you stop chasing success. You attract it. The power of mystery. Silence keeps people guessing. Mystery creates respect. There's something magnetic about a person who doesn't reveal everything. Someone who moves with intention, who speaks only when it matters, who keeps their goals and emotions close, not out of fear, but out of discipline. In a world where everyone is broadcasting their every move, mystery has become rare, and because it's rare, it's powerful. Silence doesn't just protect your peace, it builds an aura. It makes people pay attention. When you stop giving everyone access to your mind, you become unpredictable, and that unpredictability commands respect. Most people feel an urge to explain themselves. They want to be understood, validated, seen. But in trying to be understood, they often make themselves too visible, too predictable, too easy to read. The truth is, when people think they know everything about you, they stop respecting you. Familiarity can breed comfort, but it can also breed complacency. On the other hand, when people can't quite figure you out, when they don't know what you're planning, what you're feeling, or what your next move will be, they watch you differently. They listen more carefully. They wonder. That wonder is power. Mystery doesn't mean being secretive in a negative way. It means being selective. It means understanding that not every emotion deserves expression. Not every idea needs an audience. And not every move should be announced. The more you hold back, the more value your words and actions carry. Think about it. When someone who rarely speaks finally decides to say something, silence amplifies importance. Restraint amplifies strength. In relationships, in business, in personal growth, mystery is a form of respect. It tells people that you have control over yourself. It shows emotional intelligence. You're not reactive. You're not seeking approval. You move with calm confidence. People might try to read you, but they can't, because your validation doesn't come from their understanding. It comes from your own self-awareness. That's what makes mystery powerful. It's rooted in self-control. There's a quiet kind of authority that comes from not oversharing. When you stop explaining your every decision, people begin to notice your results instead of your reasoning. They may question your methods. They may speculate about your intentions. But speculation only adds to your presence. Mystery fuels curiosity, and curiosity draws attention. But this attention isn't the shallow kind that fades quickly. It's deeper. It's respect mixed with intrigue. When you move in silence, you take control of your narrative. You decide what people see and, more importantly, what they don't. You stop letting others define you because they never have the full story. And that's exactly how it should be, because not everyone deserves the full story. Some people only want access to your process so they can copy it, criticize it, or compete with it. But when you stay quiet, when you let your actions unfold naturally, you stay steps ahead. People can't destroy what they don't understand. Mystery also teaches patience. It forces you to sit with your own progress without needing external validation. It allows your plans to develop in peace. You stop seeking quick recognition because you start valuing long-term mastery. The process of becoming someone great requires silence. The most important transformations happen when no one is watching. When you're putting in work that doesn't need to be seen to be real. There's strength in being underestimated. Master your mind and stay grounded. When people don't know your full capacity, they can't anticipate your moves. They might think you're quiet because you have nothing to say. But the truth is, you're quiet because you're calculating, growing, evolving. The element of surprise becomes your greatest advantage. And when you finally move, when your results appear, the impact is far greater than if you had announced your every step. Mystery creates space for depth. It gives you room to think, to observe, to evolve. When you don't rush to share your plans, you give yourself time to refine them. When you don't announce your feelings, you give yourself time to understand them. When you don't reveal everything about your life, you give people something to earn, the right to know you. That's where real connection and respect come from. Silence also keeps your energy pure. The more you share, the more you invite opinions, judgments, and projections. But when you keep certain things private, your mind stays clear. You're not constantly absorbing other people's fears or doubts. You're not performing for approval. You're simply focused on your path, protected by your mystery. The world may tell you to be transparent, to share everything, to put yourself out there. But not everything sacred should be exposed. Your dreams, your growth, your healing, those deserve protection. They deserve silence. When you master the art of mystery, you stop chasing attention and start attracting respect. People won't always understand you, but they'll feel something when you enter a room. A quiet strength, an unspoken authority, an energy that doesn't need explanation. That's the beauty of mystery. It's not about hiding who you are. It's about mastering who you are. It's about moving with intention, speaking with precision, and letting your silence do the heavy lifting. Because when you embrace mystery, you don't have to demand respect. It comes to you naturally. And when that happens, your presence alone becomes more powerful than words ever could be. Discipline over distraction. When you stop explaining yourself to everyone, your focus becomes your weapon. Discipline is the quiet force that separates dreamers from doers. It's not about perfection. It's about commitment. It's the daily decision to stay focused on what truly matters. Even when distractions scream louder than your goals, we live in a world designed to steal your attention. Every notification, every opinion, every opportunity to compare yourself to someone else is a test. Most people lose that test because they chase distraction disguised as connection. But the moment you choose discipline over distraction, everything begins to change. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop explaining and start executing. Discipline doesn't always feel exciting. It often feels lonely, repetitive, and unseen. But that's where the magic happens, in the consistency that no one applauds, in the hours when no one's watching. Distraction promises instant gratification, but discipline delivers lasting satisfaction. When you decide to stop explaining yourself to everyone, you conserve your energy for what actually builds you. Every explanation you give drains a bit of that energy. Every time you justify your choices to people who don't share your vision, you lose momentum. Discipline is knowing when to stay silent and let your results do the talking. The truth is, distractions will always exist. They'll come dressed as opportunities, as conversations, as validation. They'll whisper, "You deserve a break," when you haven't earned one. They'll tempt you with comfort when progress demands discomfort. Discipline means recognizing those distractions for what they are. Traps disguised as rewards. It's saying no, not because you're rigid, but because you're clear. When you have a goal, not every good silence over noise. The strategy of calm thing is a good thing for you. Discipline gives you the power to filter, to prioritize, to protect your purpose from dilution. There's something powerful about being unavailable to distraction. When you no longer respond to everything. When you stop trying to prove your worth through constant communication, you gain control over your life. People who lack discipline chase validation from others. People with discipline validate themselves through progress. When you stop explaining yourself, you send a silent message you're too busy becoming the person you're meant to be to defend the one you are right now. Discipline turns focus into a weapon. It sharpens your mind and aligns your actions with your intentions. Without discipline, focus is fragile, easily broken by temptation, by emotion, by noise. But with discipline, focus becomes unstoppable. It becomes a shield that blocks out distractions and a sword that cuts through excuses. Every time you choose discipline, you're strengthening your ability to stay consistent. And consistency, not talent or luck, is what builds greatness. People often misunderstand discipline. They think it means restriction, limitation, or lack of freedom. In reality, discipline is what gives you freedom. Freedom from regret, from chaos, from mediocrity. When you're disciplined, you don't waste time on meaningless distractions because you're too busy living with intention. You're not trapped by impulses or emotions. You act based on vision, not feeling. You don't need to announce every step or justify every choice because your actions are backed by purpose. Discipline also teaches patience. It reminds you that real growth takes time. Distraction pushes you toward the quick fix, the temporary high of being noticed, liked, or approved. But discipline anchors you to long-term fulfillment. It's the voice that says, keep going when no one is watching. It's what keeps you studying after the excitement fades, practicing after failure, showing up even when it's inconvenient. The world applauds success, but often forgets the discipline that created it. That's why the most successful people are often misunderstood. They're too disciplined to explain what they're building to people who only see the surface. When you embrace discipline over distraction, you become dangerous in the best way, not to others, but to your old self. You start breaking patterns that once held you back. You stop wasting hours on noise that adds nothing to your purpose. Final message: move quietly. Win loudly. You begin to feel the difference between motion and progress. Distraction keeps you busy. Discipline keeps you effective. You'll notice how peaceful it feels when you stop explaining yourself. You no longer need to convince anyone why you're not at every event, why you're not sharing every detail of your plans, why you're not living like everyone else. You realize that you're not behind. You're just focused. Silence becomes your advantage. While others are broadcasting their every move, you're refining yours. And when you finally reveal what you've been working on, it speaks louder than any explanation ever could. Choosing discipline over distraction is not a one-time decision. It's a daily battle. You'll have moments of weakness, moments when the noise feels overwhelming, moments when distraction seems easier. But discipline isn't about never failing. It's about never giving up. It's about returning to your focus every time you drift. Each time you choose discipline, you build momentum. Each time you say no to distraction, you say yes to growth. So stop explaining, stop justifying, and stop letting distractions define your direction. Move quietly. Work deliberately. Guard your attention like treasure, because it is. Discipline will make you powerful, not in how loudly you move, but in how consistently you act. When you master it, your focus becomes so sharp that nothing can shake you. Not noise, not doubt, not failure. And one day, the same people who didn't understand your silence will call you an overnight success, never realizing that your discipline made it inevitable. Results speak louder. You don't need to announce your progress. Let your success do the talking. There is something powerful about quiet progress. In a world that constantly demands updates, validation, and proof, there is strength in simply doing the work and in letting the results speak for themselves. You don't have to announce every move, every small win, or every step forward. The moment you stop trying to prove yourself and start producing real results, everything changes. Because in the end, words fade, but results remain. We live in a culture obsessed with appearances, where people want to look successful more than they want to be successful. Everyone is posting, talking, and showcasing the illusion of progress. But the truth is, results never lie. You can't fake consistency, you can't disguise effort, and you can't pretend outcomes into existence. Results are the most honest reflection of discipline. They don't need to be defended or explained. They are silent proof of everything you've done when no one was watching. You don't need to announce your progress, because real growth happens in private. The strongest trees grow underground before they ever break the surface. Their roots stretch deep unseen, but those roots are what make them unshakable when storms come. The same goes for your goals. The work you do in silence, the studying, the building, the self-improvement becomes the foundation that no one can take away. The results that eventually emerge are only the visible part of the story. When you're focused on showing results instead of talking about them, your energy shifts. You stop wasting time trying to convince others of your worth, and you start using that energy to build something real. The truth is, the people who talk the most about what they're doing often do the least. They talk to feel progress instead of doing the work to make progress. But when you're deeply focused on your mission, you don't have time to explain it. You're too busy executing. Silence during the process creates shock during the reveal. There's something beautiful about showing up one day and letting your achievements do all the talking. People who doubted you start asking questions. People who ignored you start paying attention. But by then it's too late because your results are already undeniable. That's the power of letting success speak for itself. When your actions echo louder than your words, respect replaces attention and credibility replaces applause. There's also freedom in not needing to announce your progress. You no longer depend on external validation to stay motivated. You don't post for approval or perform for praise. You build because it matters to you. You improve because it's your standard. You're not chasing recognition. You're chasing mastery. And that mindset is what separates those who last from those who fade. When your motivation comes from within, no setback can stop you, no critic can distract you, and no comparison can discourage you. Results carry a quiet power because they speak universally. You don't have to defend them, debate them, or explain them. People see them and know. They tell your story without you saying a word. That's why it's better to build silently and reveal strategically. Let people wonder what you're up to. Let them assume you're still in the same place until your results appear and make the announcement for you. That moment of surprise isn't about proving anyone wrong. It's about proving yourself right. And here's the truth. Those who truly win in life rarely talk about it. They're too focused on the next challenge, the next project, the next version of themselves. They understand that success is not an end point. It's a reflection of constant growth. Talking about results is temporary. Creating them is timeless. Every hour you spend talking about what you will do could be spent actually doing it. Every ounce of energy you spend trying to impress others could be redirected into becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to impress anyone. It's not about staying silent forever. It's about speaking through impact. The time to talk is after you've earned the right to be heard, after your work has proven its worth. Because when your results are visible, your voice carries weight. People listen differently when they see evidence. Your silence earns you credibility. Your consistency earns you trust. Together, they build the kind of influence that words alone never could. So stop announcing and start advancing. Stop proving and start producing. Let your progress be quiet, but undeniable. Let your results be your introduction, your defense, and your statement. Because the truth is, real success doesn't need an audience, it needs action. When you focus on the work, not the recognition, success becomes effortless. You stop chasing attention and start attracting respect. You stop hoping people notice because eventually they can't ignore it. Let your silence during the process be misunderstood. Let your discipline go unnoticed. It's all part of the plan. One day, your results will speak so loudly that you won't have to say a single word. They'll tell the story of your focus, your perseverance, and your belief in yourself. And that story will always speak louder than anything you could ever say. Emotional control is one of the highest forms of strength a person can develop. It's not about suppressing your feelings or pretending not to care. It's about mastering your reactions and learning when silence says more than words ever could. In a world that thrives on reactions, where anger, jealousy, and frustration are constantly provoked, emotional control becomes your greatest advantage. It separates those who are ruled by impulse from those who move with intention. When you can stay calm in chaos, patient in pressure, and silent in provocation, you become untouchable. Silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. It gives you space to process your emotions before you act on them. Most people respond the moment they feel something. They argue when they're hurt, retaliate when they're angry, or quit when they're discouraged. But silence gives you the power to pause, and in that pause, clarity is born. That moment of stillness is where you decide whether to react emotionally or respond intelligently. It's the difference between being driven by your emotions and being guided by your purpose. The world will test your emotions every single day. Someone will misunderstand you. Someone will disrespect you. Something will not go your way. But your growth begins the moment you realize that not every situation deserves a reaction. Not every battle deserves to be fought. Sometimes silence is not surrender, it's strategy. It's choosing to protect your peace rather than prove a point. It's saying, I'm not wasting energy on what doesn't grow me. Emotional control is not about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally intelligent. When you learn to stay silent, you learn patience. You realize that anger fades, frustration passes, and hurt heals. But your words and actions can create lasting damage if you don't control them. Patience allows you to respond when you're ready, not when you're triggered. It gives you the discipline to wait for the right moment, the right tone, the right mindset. There's a calm power in responding with understanding rather than reacting with emotion. People who lack that control often regret their words. People who master it earn respect. Clarity is another gift of silence. When you stop speaking out of emotion, you start hearing yourself more clearly. You begin to separate temporary feelings from lasting truths. What felt like betrayal in the moment might look like a lesson in hindsight. What seemed like failure might actually be redirection. Emotional control gives you the ability to see beyond the moment, to think long-term in a short-term world. The calmer you become, the clearer life becomes. Emotional mastery is not built overnight. It's trained through repetition, through moments where you could react but choose not to. Each time you hold your peace, you strengthen your control. Each time you let silence replace anger, you teach yourself restraint, and restraint is power. Because when you can stay composed under pressure, people notice. They begin to see you as grounded, stable, and wise. You become the person who can't be easily shaken or manipulated. That is emotional freedom when no one's behavior has the power to control yours. Many people mistake loudness for power, but true power is quiet. It's the ability to stay calm when everything around you is loud. It's the strength to listen when others are yelling. It's the wisdom to wait instead of rush. It's the courage to walk away instead of explode. Silence protects your dignity, your energy, and your mental clarity. Every time you choose silence over chaos, you reinforce your strength. Every time you control your emotions, you regain control of your life. When you stop letting emotions dictate your actions, your focus sharpens. You start using your energy for progress instead of arguments. You stop wasting time trying to make people understand you and start working on becoming someone who doesn't need to be understood to stay at peace. That's the essence of emotional mastery. Peace that is not dependent on people, approval, or circumstances. It's an inner calm that can't be disturbed by external noise. Life will never stop challenging your emotions, but that's how you grow. Every test is a chance to practice patience, to strengthen clarity, to deepen control. It's not about never feeling anger, fear, or sadness. It's about not letting those emotions control your behavior. Feel them, but don't feed them. Acknowledge them, but don't obey them. You are not your emotions. You are the observer of them. The one who can feel deeply yet respond wisely is the one who truly leads their life. So stay silent when your emotions scream for reaction. Stay calm when people try to provoke you. Stay patient when things take longer than expected. Because in that silence, you're not losing. You're mastering yourself. You're proving that peace is not found in controlling others, but in controlling yourself. And when you reach that level of emotional strength, you realize that silence is not empty. It's full of self-respect, wisdom, and unshakable power, self-mastery. The loudest person in the room often seeks attention. The calmest one already has direction. True power doesn't need to shout. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't need to be seen or validated. Real power moves quietly, deliberately, and confidently because it comes from within. The loudest person in the room might look confident, but often that loudness is a mask. It's a way to hide insecurity, to prove something, to be noticed. But the calm one, the one who speaks less, observes more, and moves with purpose, that's the person who already knows who they are. That's the person who has mastered themselves. Self-mastery isn't about controlling the world around you. It's about controlling the world within you. Your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, your habits. It's about being so grounded in your values and purpose that nothing external can easily shake you. When you have self-mastery, you no longer chase attention because you found something more valuable: direction. You know where you're going, and you don't need noise to get there. In a society where attention is currency, silence becomes rebellion. Everyone is trying to prove their worth by being seen, by being heard, by being noticed. But self-mastery teaches you that attention means nothing without alignment. You can have all eyes on you and still feel lost. You can be surrounded by noise and still feel unheard. Mastery means detaching from that need to perform and learning to move for yourself, not for the audience. It's choosing purpose over popularity, progress over performance. The calm person is not calm because life is easy. They are calm because they've learned that peace is power. They don't let circumstances dictate their emotions. They don't need to respond to every challenge, every rumor, or every provocation. Their silence doesn't come from weakness, it comes from wisdom. They understand that energy is precious and not every situation deserves theirs. The person who has mastered themselves saves their energy for what matters. Self-mastery is a journey, not a destination. It's built through countless moments where you choose discipline over impulse, reflection over reaction, growth over comfort. It's saying no when every part of you wants to say yes, walking away when your pride wants to fight, and staying focused when your ego wants attention. Mastery is developed in solitude, in those quiet hours when no one is watching and you are left alone with your thoughts. It's in that silence that you confront yourself, your fears, your weaknesses, your habits, and you begin to shape who you are. The calm people often have the deepest strength because they've already fought battles that no one knows about. They've learned that you don't need to prove your worth, you just need to live it. When you reach that level of inner balance, you become unshakable. You don't get easily influenced by other people's opinions because your validation comes from within. You don't get lost comparing yourself because your direction is clear. You no longer chase opportunities. You attract them through your energy, your presence, and your focus. The loudest person in the room often wants to be recognized. The calm one already recognizes themselves. The loud one seeks control over others. The calm one has control over themselves. Self-mastery is about realizing that life doesn't get easier. You just get stronger. You learn to navigate challenges with grace, setbacks with patience, and success with humility. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. When you master yourself, you become the kind of person who inspires others without trying to.